We'll now call the Tuesday, August 11th, 2020 public hearing meeting to order. Adoption of the agenda under 2.1. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean. Should be no additions. All in favor? Carries. We're now under 3.1, the reading of the public hearing statement by myself. So this, August 11th, 2020 public hearing held in the Village of Valemount Council Chambers at 735 Cranberry Lake Road in Valemount, BC, is being convened pursuant to the terms of Local Government Act prior to consideration of Village of Valemount Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 826/2020. At a public hearing, any person present who believes that they are affected by a matter being considered shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matter contained in the proposal. Members of the public speaking on the proposal should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to this council by clearly stating your name and area of residence, upon which you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposal. Anyone who deems their interests are affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be, or should feel, discouraged or prevented from making their views known. All who speak at this public hearing will restrict their remarks to matters contained in the proposal, and it is my responsibility as chairperson of this meeting to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. At the conclusion of a public hearing, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representation made at the hearing. Under 3.2, we'll now have a presentation by staff. Ms. Vicente.
Hey, thank you very much. The public hearing this evening is in regards to a zoning amendment application requesting to permit 2 single-family dwellings at 1303 Dogwood Street, which is legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 7356, Plan PGP 10351. This property is currently zoned residential R1, and the applicant is requesting to change their zoning to rural residential RR2. The RR2 zone is intended for larger properties close to the edges of town and permits 2 dwellings. The subject property is 2 acres located at the northern end of Dogwood Street, adjacent to Swift Creek and close to the municipal boundary. The owner intends to build a new house for themselves and rent out the existing dwelling as a long-term rental. This property is relatively isolated, bordered on 3 sides by the creek and the train tracks. I have no concerns with this proposal, as I do not see any negative impacts to adjacent property owners, nor to the village infrastructure. The Public Works Superintendent and Building Inspector have reviewed this application and have no concerns, and no public comments have been received.
Thank you very much. So under 3.3, just to reiterate, there have been no written submissions?
That's correct.
Is there any presentations under 3.4 by the proponent?
Not unless they're in front of you.
Are there any questions under 3.5 of the proponent by council? And under 3.6, are there any public submissions and presentations to form part of the minutes? Asking a second time for public submissions or presentations to form part of the minutes. Third and final time asking under 3.6 for public submissions and presentations to form part of the minutes. I adjourn this public hearing. Thank you. Now call to order the Tuesday, August 11th, 2020 regular meeting of council to order. Under 2.1, adoption of the agenda as amended to include item 9.12, Robson Valley Community Services request to council. It's council's wish. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, any further additions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carries. Under 3.1, were there any public comments of this regular meeting received? Under 4.1, adoption of the minutes of the previous regular meeting of council being July 14th, 2020. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? Carries. Adoption of the minutes of the previous public hearing being July 14th, 2020. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any errors or omissions arising from that public hearing? Hearing none, all in favor? Carries. 4.3, adoption of the minutes of the previous special meeting of council being July 28th, 2020. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, any errors or omissions arising? Hearing none, all in favor? Carries. 7.1, under correspondence for action. LGL Limited request for a letter of support that a letter be provided to LGL Limited and the Simp First Nation in support of their funding application to the Columbia Basin Trust for work related to wetland habitat enhancement rehabilitation in the Canoe River Valley. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, discussion. All in favor? Carries. Anything out of the reading file? I'll pull out number 1, the Columbia River Treaty Negotiations Update. Round 9? 10. Awesome work by your team, Councillor MacLean, and being recognized by the province as doing awesome work, as highlighted by Ms. Eichenberger. Anything else, Council? Councillor MacLean?
I wanted to pull item 6, the Village of Caslow, asking for a letter of support for the rural economic development through healthcare, asking for a strategy for rural economic development through healthcare. Did you want me to read it, or have you?
I've read it. I'm just wondering
Yeah.
if this is going to, I couldn't quite remember if it was going to UBCM, or is this going to?
It's going to Honorable Adrian Dix of BC Municipalities, and those 2 places.
Yeah, it was identified by the association, or AKBLG, as a top priority.
Right.
What's your wish?
I would like to move that we write a letter of support for them as requested.
Seconder, Councillor Blanchette. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carries. And was there anything else out of the reading file? 9.1, 2019 annual report that it be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Any discussion around the 2019, it's going back a ways, 2019 annual report? All in favor? Carries. 9.2, Tourism Valemount Committee resolutions that the report be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any discussion? All in favor? It's received. 9.3, accounts payable report for July 2020 be received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, any discussion on AP? All in favor? Carries. 9.4, 2019 Statement of Financial Information, Sophie, that it be approved by council. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion around approval of Sophie? All in favor? Carries. 9.5, Building Inspector Report, June and July 2020, that the report be received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion around the Building Inspector's report? Councillor Pearson?
Just nice to see some positive numbers in there going forward. So July looked really well.
Yeah. Further discussion? All in favor? Carries. 9.6, broadband connectivity study that the village collaborates with Regional District Fraser Fort George and allocates $10,000 to complete a broadband study for the region. Councillor Pearson, seconder.
Can I move to put it for discussion?
I forget how to do that.
He's moved it. He's moved the recommendation. If you second it and you vote it down, that's fine too. Or cautious. Or cautious on the floor. It doesn't leave the floor. Okay. It has been moved.
Oh, okay. Second, sorry.
Discussion. Councillor Blanchette, seconds. Councillor MacLean.
We set aside 10,000 for this.
That is I believe our Director of Finance is in the house.
We can ask Silvio as well, he wrote the report.
Awesome.
Would you like me to speak on that, Mayor?
Yeah, if you have some background to it.
So in the budget, we budgeted $20,000, and it was called opportunity grants. And it was for grants that came up throughout the year that we weren't aware of during the budget process.
Right.
So that if we had to contribute a certain percentage of it, we would have that set aside. So there is a $20,000 budget, and the $10,000 is there for it if needed.
Okay. Did the Economic Development Officer have anything to add?
No, we were already speaking to it when I got there, so that's good.
Okay. Councillor MacLean.
Are there funds, have we investigated whether there's funds available for this through the Columbia Basin Trust? Rather than using this money that we have set aside as an opportunities. There has, of course, been discussion that that's one of the biggest things in the basin is the need for the broadband. So I'm thinking that we may have somewhere else to access the money, possibly, rather than use our own money set aside for opportunity. Could we investigate that?
Absolutely, you could. The Columbia Broadband Corporation has done they partnered with regional districts along with municipalities in the Central Kootenays and the East Kootenays for their broadband studies. And used, I believe they used the same 10X engineering consulting group for their studies. Councillor Pearson?
Yeah, I think this is a hugely important issue. I mean, we've been fighting for broadband and connectivity for quite some time. My question on Columbia Basin is the scope of this study is basically west of here. It jumps outside the Columbia Basin pretty quick as far as the scope of the project. So, I mean, if that's an option, that's great too, but that would be my thoughts on the direction it's going for this project.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know, I can't answer for sure without going back to the board with, are there funds available? It is recognized by the Columbia Broadband Corporation that they have seen an uptake in connectivity since the introduction of COVID. They've seen varying times, like normally you would see a huge uptake after dinner and on weekends in terms of broadband use. Now it's throughout the day, much like BC Hydro is seeing now. But this is an opportunity to include all of us, right from Mackenzie to right into the heart of downtown, to have those gaps analyzed. Councillor Blanchette, then Pearson.
Okay, there's no time frame on this, is there? Like, what's the date that it needs to happen by? Do we know?
Mr. Gislenberry?
I can give a few explanations. First of all, this is an initiative promoted by the Regional District Freezer Fort George. And as we well mentioned, the Columbia Basin Trust and the Broadband Initiative, that could be an excellent step for phase 2 for the implementation. We have been talking to them, and this study is really important in order also to get funding through the provincial government, and it needs to be done on a larger basis. That's why it's, as I said, promoted by Regional District, Fraser Fort George, with inclusion of McBride, Valemount, Mackenzie. And this study, the time, we think it will take around 6 months. Then once it's done for the implementation, it goes back to the province, and NDIT is also promoting this year. Then we will find the dollars for implementation, and at that stage also we will apply for funds through the CBT. So this is an important funding contribution from the village, again, to show how important it is to us. I think it's almost a request to show that we want to put in some of our money to go to all the next stages.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, so the next phase will be approaching, for phase 2 would be approaching CBT then? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And also NDIT.
Yeah,
And they
okay.
already have put aside some big dollars for the implementation. But they need a clear kind of type of plan for doing this here. And when the regional district again approached the villages, the regional district is putting in around $40,000, and then 10 and 10 and 10, it's the other 3 communities. And then when we have the whole result, we will go really back to different funding agencies for the implementation.
Thanks.
Councillor Pearson, you had a question, comment?
Just more a comment that, I mean, this was identified as a key proponent in the OCP discussion we had earlier today, as well as for, I mean, so many sectors. I mean, tourism, industry, and everything. I mean, broadband is a key tool. And I believe there was an announcement from the province earlier, well, it would have been last week, of significant amount of dollars being applied towards broadband expansion, so.
Further discussion? Any further questions for our EDO? Thanks very much. Call the question. All in favor? Carries. 9.7, Centennial Park Washrooms, request for proposals, that staff be directed to post a request for proposals regarding double washroom building to be located at the northeast corner of Centennial Park. What's council's wish? Councillor Blanchette? Councillor Pearson? Any discussion? All in favor? Carries. 9.8, request for quotes for Husqvarna zero-turn mower, that Alpine Country Rentals be provided a purchase order for a Husqvarna zero-turn mower in the amount of $16,679.04. Councillor MacLean? You so move? Councillor Blanchette seconds. Discussion? Councillor Blanchette?
May I ask what this is, and do we need one or have one, or is ours dead, or like, what is it?
Well, a zero-turn is a ride-on mower that has joysticks rather than a steering wheel,
Like the one that we already have.
like that John Deere that we already have. Yeah.
So is ours giving up the ghost, or do we need 2, or?
Ms. Shepherd?
The Director of Finance.
The Director of Finance has joined us.
Thank you. The zero-turn mower that we currently have is on its last legs and need severe parts and upgrades to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this wasn't, sorry Mayor, this was in the budget.
Thank you. Further discussion or questions for our Finance Officer? Director of Finance, sorry. All in favor? Carries. 9.9, Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society Memorandum of Understanding. Councillor Pearson?
I'd like to recuse myself as I am a director of the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society
And the contact person on the last page.
and the signing officer for the memorandum.
Thank you. And the recommendation here that CAO be directed to enter into an MOU with the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society on behalf of the Village of Valemount. What's council's wish? Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, discussion? All in favor? It carries.
Bring it back.
Yes, please. Thank you. It's quite the entrance. So you're aware, council has directed the CAO to enter into an MOU.
Okay, thank you.
9.10, Official community plan and zoning bylaw rewrite. Council update that the report be received. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean. Any discussion? All in favor? Carries. 9.11, 2021 permissive tax exemptions. Separate resolutions, Ms. Shepherd.
Yes, please.
So, that council approved the permissive tax exemptions for the following nonprofit organizations in 2021 with rates determined by council. I believe there was an additional recommendation from our Director of Finance. Because of the taxation exemption, extension. Bear with me.
Did you want me to speak on that, Mayor?
I see it here, Ms. McNee, thank you. It is also suggested that council provides a condition that all taxes are to be paid by September 30, 2020 in order to qualify for the exemption, if an exemption is provided by council. What's council's wish on that? And do we go through the individual recommendations? Is there a mover on that we provide a condition that all taxes are to be paid by September 30, 2020? Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion on that? All in favor? It carries. And then by separate resolution, the Valemount Curling Club. Councillor Blanchette.
I would move that we do the same as last year for the curling club at 50%.
Is there a seconder there? Councillor Pearson, any discussion? Councillor MacLean?
I'm being in on this last year and having to go through it again this year. I'm wondering if it is at all possible to consider doing a multi-year so organizations could be more sure of the percentage that they will be allowed, and council wouldn't have to decide every year to go through this one by one.
Would that bind future councils? And then my other question is, does the community benefit of each organization come does each organization become a greater asset and therefore potentially a greater tax exemption based on the benefit they're offering the community? Councillor MacLean?
It could also be worded so that it contained a proviso for a significant change in operations.
Mrs. McNee or Shepherd, is there a legislative misnomer
I
there?
can speak to the Director of Finance on that. I'm fairly certain you have to request each year, but again, you have to confirm that with the board.
Mrs. McNee?
Thank you. I believe in the legislation you can provide a tax exemption up to 10 years, but I can double check that.
We have time. Is there a mover so we get this laid out with your request? Is there a mover that we table this? Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, that this item be tabled until we have legislative sureness on multi-year tax exemptions. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Pearson?
Yeah, I think that's the best way. I mean, otherwise we do 1 year and then a new policy going forward if we can come up with the information and just take care of it at a further meeting.
And the deadline for this is October 31st. And must be drafted into bylaw by October 31st, so we got time. Any further discussion? Councillor Pearson?
how does that reflect on the first motion as far as taxes being paid by September 30th?
If we have an extension, if it has to be written into bylaw by October 31st? Ms. Shepherd?
And you only have one council meeting in September as well.
That's right, UBCM.
It's written right in the policy
Yeah.
here, though, that all the taxes have to be currently paid anyway, so it's
Yeah.
already written right in the policy.
Yeah, just with the COVID policy, things have
Yeah.
changed, but. No, but.
So we have one council meeting. We get first, second there, if council permits. We get third in the September meeting, and potentially fourth.
First and second in September.
Oh, yeah, we're in August already.
Third at the October, fourth at the second meeting in October. I'm not sure what if there's advertising or anything, what the legislation is as far as that goes. The director of finance will know. So there needs to be enough time in between.
Mrs. McNee, is there any advertising requirements for tax exemptions?
There is a 2-week publications required before the fourth reading. So we would have time, I'm just looking at the schedule, we would have time to proceed again in September to have the exemptions provided by council, and then enough time to have first, second, third, and 2 weeks.
Okay,
If required, if something happens, we can always call a special council meeting.
fair enough. Further discussion, tabling? All in favor? It's been tabled. Thank you, Mrs. McNee.
Thank you.
9.12, Rob,
Your worship,
Yeah.
didn't we have a motion on the table for 50% for the Cullen Prep, or did you vote on that?
we did not vote on that. Thank you very much. Should we, we tabled the rest of them for a multi-year opportunity. I would recommend to the council that that motion be defeated. So, all in favor of the Valemount Curling Club receiving 50% for a single year? Opposed? It is opposed. Does anybody want their opposition recorded? Thank you. 9.12, thank you very much, Ms. Shepherd. 9.12, Robson Valley Community Services request that the tents be waived for the RVCS Kids Camp from Wednesday, August 12th, tomorrow through to Friday.
I'd like to recuse myself as chair of RVCS.
Thank you very much. What is council's wish? Councillor MacLean?
I move that we waive the fees.
Councillor Pearson? Any discussion? Yes, Councillor Pearson?
And so this is for tomorrow, correct?
Tomorrow through to Friday.
Will that work for village staff to have that tent? Because this is the big party tent that takes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes, we've spoken to Public Works, we have a tent available. It's not always the most convenient with last minute requests.
Yeah.
for Public
Yeah.
Works, so I got that out there.
Yeah.
Originally, the request was for Monday to Friday, so yesterday to Friday. So they're aware, and hopefully if it's required by RVCS, they can come and pick it up and drop it off. We can't make Public Works available at all times on such short notice, but they're really good.
Yeah, it just, the average person can't pick and assemble that tent, so. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. council waive the fees. 10.1, Village of Valemount Council Procedure Bylaw number 815, 2019, be rescinded. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. All in the interest of transparency, or further transparency, pardon me. All in favor? It's been rescinded. 10.2, Official Community Plan OCP and Zoning Amendment Bylaw for proposed development at 1451 Fifth Avenue. Councillor Blanchette is rescinding because you are...
Sheri of Harvest, yes.
Thank you. Two recommendations by separate resolutions of the Village of Valemount Official Community Plan Bylaw number 895, 2006, Amendment Bylaw number 814, 2020 be adopted as presented. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? Carries. And two, that Village of Valemount Zoning Amendment number 610, 2007, Amendment Bylaw number 812, 2020 be adopted as presented. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, any discussion? It carries. Both were adopted. 10.3, Village of Valemount Bylaw Notice Enforcement and Dispute Adjudication Amendment Bylaw number 825 be adopted as presented. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette, discussion, final adoption. All in favor? Carries. 10.4, Village of Valemount Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 610, 2007, Amendment Bylaw number 826, 2020 be given third and fourth readings. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? Carries. 10.5, Village of Valemount Tax Sale Deferral Bylaw number 827, 2020 be adopted as presented. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any discussion? Final adoption? All in favor? Carries. $10.6, Village of Valemount Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 828, 2020 be adopted as presented. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any discussion? All in favor? Carries. Council reports under 11.1, Councillor MacLean.
In July 28th, I attended a Valemount Cares Society charrette exercise at the community hall. Also on the 28th, I attended a special committee of the whole meeting of council and participated in a Columbia Basin Regional Advisory Committee telecon. On August the 10th, we had a teleconference with the Columbia Basin Trust Local Government Committee and Johnny Strylaff, CEO of Columbia Basin Trust, regarding the Affected Areas Program. Some things that came out of this conversation were the Local Government Committee has asked that the Affected Areas Program be clarified as to what it may be used for the staff administering funds, make it a little easier so that they know what's in and what's out. And also asked that the administration of the affected areas be re-examined by the trust in terms of how it unintentionally benefits larger communities over small rural communities, because more resources are available in larger communities to take advantage. There's more expertise and resources to do things. And today I participated in an online pep talk and strategic direction setting workshop as part of the consultation process with the official community plan consulting team. And that was it for me.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pearson, what did you get up to?
Just trying to figure out where we are in relation to our last meeting. September 27th, There was a planning session with the Valemount Cares Group and Macola Group, and followed up again on the 28th with a larger group discussion. September 28th, also a special meeting of council.
Did you get home that day?
I snuck in a lunch. August 4th, the Valemount Tourism Committee meeting. And then right before this meeting, also the OCP pep talk on the future of our OCP planning.
Nice. Councillor Blanchette?
The 28th was the committee of the whole meeting that we had. Today, of course, was the OCP pep talk, and that's my short list.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How far? Yeah, okay. July 15th, Alberta Board meeting. July 16th, Regional Board meeting. July 17th and 18th, Columbia Basin Trust Board meetings and a continuation of said. July 20, teleconference with BC Timber Sales regarding the Carleena harvest area. Some bridges have washed out up in that area, 2 of them at kilometer 4 and 10. And as everyone's aware, it's an extremely popular VARTA destination. So I just wanted to gauge what their silviculture and harvesting plans might be for that area. And they've been delayed due to the downfall in market prices and the extremity of the washouts. There was no riprap, just in a high saturated area. So follow-ups soon. July 23rd, participated in the Columbia Basin Trust our future elected leadership planning session with Amy Ambrosoni and I'm gonna get kicked, Wayne Lutenberg. Later that day with the BC Municipal Climate Leadership Council, had a call with Minister Heyman. On July 24th, participated in a webinar around government relations and energy advocacy. July 28th, for small communities, had a UBCM Climate Action Draft Recommendations Zoom call with the BC Municipal Climate Leadership Council. 2 members there, Arjan Singh from Kamloops and Mayor Josie Osborne from Tofino. Committee of the whole on July 28th, and also the charrette exercise, or one of the earlier charrette exercises for the senior housing development. July 31st, had a breakfast farewell for the military police national riders at Legion Branch 266. Thank you, Councillor Pearson, to your team for hosting them. Great advocacy there. August 4th, briefing with Valemount Emergency Services. And just right after that, I briefly poked into the Tourism Valemount meeting. August 5th, had a strategic priority webinar with Dr. Gordon McIntosh. Highlights there were strategic priorities may not need to be set in stone because times are changing and you need to be as dynamic as the times reflect, especially as we all know with the COVID pandemic. The other recommendation there was it's a good opportunity to review your priorities as you move along through your term. August 6th, had a Kinbasket Debris Management Joint Committee meeting, Valemount and Golden. Highlights there. $615,000 budget this year due to the fact that they probably will surcharge the reservoir. So some additional fees there for doing marine-based cleanup. So a contractor in the Golden End will be dragging the lake, dragging the reservoir with a boom log system and then creating holding pens for whatever debris is newly introduced from high water. August 7th, had a briefing with MLA Bond and the Highway 1697 reps. Very Robson Valley centric, that call. It was Village of McBride, Area H, and Village of Valemount. So lots of discussion there around Door River, the ancient forest, Willocks Creek, and just how busy it was here on the August long weekend. And then again today, really good briefing with emergency services. It was just Dr. Markham and I. So got a lot of new information on testing, turnaround time on results. It's really, really quickened up from potentially 2 weeks when they were flying or not flying test kits to Vancouver. They're now doing them in Prince George, so getting about a 48-hour turnaround. Motion to receive, Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean. Any discussion? All in favor? They've been received. We have a notice to proceed in camera under 14.1 for consideration of one item per section 91E of the Community Charter to discuss matters related to E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? Carries.